All right, can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Um, Welcome again to the Unsheltered Homeless Point in Time Count Surveyor Training. This is for HSH and SF, and we're going to be recording so folks can watch this later on. Quick housekeeping statements. Please keep your microphone on mute until the end when we will have time to do discussion and questions. In the meantime, we've got folks available to answer questions in the chat, and we'd be happy to take care of those for you. This training recording will be posted on your Surveyors Resources page for San Francisco Surveyors, and we have a link here, which again, we'll put in the chat. Um, in this presentation, we're going to quickly go through what is a PIT count, your role as a surveyor, how to conduct the surveys using the app from SimTech, some general logistics information that you're going to need for the day you go counting, and how to get assistance in case you need it later on. So again, we've got more than 200 people in the room now. So if you could introduce yourself in the chat, and we will save all the discussion for the end. Just a quick overview, because I know you all are pretty familiar with this. The point in time count is something that happens every year across the country, the last 10 days of January. Um, every community does a shelter count annually, and at least every other year, we also do an unsheltered count. And this information is used to create trends in homelessness for understanding your local community and how it compares against other communities around the same time period. This year, you all are being trained as surveyors for the unsheltered portion of the count. The sheltered portion will be done by shelter program staff who are working in emergency shelters, transitional housing, and other programs. Our group will be focused on those HUD-defined unsheltered homelessness situations, people living in parks, on the street, encampments, RVs, cars, and you can see the list on the screen. So what is your role? As a surveyor, you will be asked to go into the field and interview people experiencing unsheltered homelessness using the local survey instrument and SimTech's Counting Us mobile app. Decisions are being made right now, but you will be given more information soon about the location you've been assigned to canvass and exactly where you'll be walking or driving, or some
Are we
people
in
may.
it? I'm in it.
Um, Anyone who agrees to complete a full survey with you while you're out in the field will receive a thank you gift. This year in San Francisco, it will be sort of a goodie bag. And this will be available to help incentivize participation. If anyone refuses to complete a survey with you, you're still going to count them with an observation count, and they do not get the incentive. So here are the formal expectations. Please arrive at the meetup location that you will be given on time. Ensure that before you arrive, you've got the app downloaded to your phone and you're able to log into your account. I'm going to ask my colleagues to put the registration link into the chat so that you can start that process if you have not already. When you are out in the field counting and interviewing people, we ask that you announce yourself from a good distance, that you ask for consent when talking to the person and getting them to have a survey. We are friendly and respectful to everyone's for both their time, their space, their belongings. Um, we're here to have a conversation with the people, but not to offer anything that you are unable to provide. This is not a typical outreach interaction. It's a survey interaction, so it should be relatively brief. We're asking that you read the questions as written and do not assume that you know the answer to the question. We're going to be listening and choosing the answer that the client gives us. Remember that whoever you're talking to can refuse to answer any question for whatever reason. So they're welcome to skip, they're welcome to end the full survey early. That's totally up to them. And partial surveys are not a problem for us. And then finally, we do not take pictures with the people that we're interviewing or of the people that we're interviewing when we're out in the field. This process, as you well know, can be exhausting for both the people that you're talking to and yourself as you're in the field. So this is a reminder to practice deep, compassionate, and active listening when you are talking to the folks in the field. Be mindful of how your engagement is going. And even if you have the best intentions, the impact might not be positive. And if the impact is becoming negative, you can end the interaction as well. Remember again that you are a guest in their space, and we're going to be respectful of themselves and their belongings. And it is okay to take a break if you need to. So you as a surveyor will be working in a team, and we recommend that the folks in the team take turns doing different parts of the survey process and support one another if anyone on the team needs some space to just breathe, just take a moment. Um, Now, with that in mind, I'm going to switch over to the technical side, and then finally we'll come back to some general logistics and get to questions. So if you haven't already, go ahead to this website and register so that you have a username and password to be able to use the app. You can download the Counting Us app in the Google Play or the Apple Store. I've got a QR code on the screen, and it looks like this with the big blue checkbox. So the circle with the white check, that's what you're looking for the app. Now, I would encourage you, if you have it, to go ahead and log in and follow along as I'm talking. Um, I'm going to do a couple of demos you might want to click through. But when you open the app, the first screen that you'll see is a list of sort of light blue buttons with different scenarios. And at the bottom is the menu bar. And the menu bar has surveys, draft surveys, a map, my count, which gives you information about your team and where you've been assigned, and a help button, which is really an FAQ. So it's got some like commonly asked questions in the app. The main part that I'm going to focus on is the survey section. So in survey mode, again, if you can, go ahead and try to log in and see if you can see this with us. Once you're able to log in, between now and when the account becomes active next week, you can do practice surveys in all of these different scenarios, and we're going to ignore that data. So I would encourage you to like interview yourself or interview an imaginary person or I don't know, Kermit the Frog, do some scenarios and practice with each of these buttons before you go out into the field. So the first button and the first type of survey that we'll be doing is an unsheltered survey. Our goal is to collect as many of these as possible, and that'll be like the full they've agreed to talk to you survey. When you're doing this, you tap on the button that says, I am interviewing a person. That's because they've given their consent and they're ready to talk to you. Those folks are going to be eligible for your incentive, right? So handing out the gift. Um, Again, in this process, we're going to be asking the questions as they appear in the app and not making any assumptions about the answers. And they are welcome to skip as many questions as they like, or even in survey it early, and you can still give them the incentive at this point. Um, in the app, it will look like this. So you will log in, tap Get Started, tap I am interviewing a person. And then it will ask you language. So we have the interface of the survey in both English and Spanish. So if you're working with someone who speaks Spanish, maybe you speak Spanish, maybe you don't, you can hold up the questions and answers and kind of talk it through with a Spanish speaker. And then it will also ask whether you're talking to an individual or a household. So in this case, a household is folks who are living together as a unit, right? They don't have to be married. It can be any household configuration. And if you choose household, it will ask survey questions in order so that you can do multiple people all at once. All right, so once you've chosen individual or household, the app will ask to confirm your location. And that's because the survey is going to be tied to your cell phone or your tablet's location services. You need to have location services turned on while you're in the field so that these pinpoints are accurate. If you don't have it turned on, it's going to ask you to type in addresses by hand, and that takes a long time, and we get a lot of mistakes that way. So it's going to show you a quick picture of where it's putting the pin drop, and you just hit confirm and move forward. Then it gives an introduction script. So you can use that, and it reminds you to introduce yourself, but also to ask for that consent and estimate about 10 minutes of survey time. Then it will ask about unsheltered status. And that will confirm that, yes, they qualify for a HUD-defined unsheltered status. And then you get into all the questions. It starts off with demographics. We'll ask about homeless history and some other both HUD required and locally chosen questions. So this is an example of what that looks like. It does not show every question all at once. It'll show groups of questions. And when you finish those and push next, it will give you another group of questions. Again, you can skip any of these. When you get to the end, it does have a blank box for notes. And that's going to go to the tech team in case there's anything important that you learned about that you think we need to know. Sometimes you might want to say, this survey was conducted in a language that you speak. Maybe you speak Chinese and you met someone Chinese in the field. It wasn't one of the options, but you did the translation. You can tell us about that in the notes. A lot of these questions will be sensitive. I know everyone on here is a professional, so I'm sure you're used to being in those situations. But just a reminder that, again, like be kind, be friendly, be mindful of the volume of your voice. And if people are uncomfortable, it's okay. We can allow them to skip through questions. All right, so there's two more types of counting that you can use the app to do. The second type is observation. So this is when either someone is refusing to talk to you, or maybe they're asleep, or maybe you can see them, but they're not accessible, or they're not responding when you say hello. We still want to count those people, so we're going to click on the button that says, I am observing a person. It will ask you why you were unable to reach them, and there is no judgment here, right? Like your supervisor is not going to say, oh, you weren't able to convince them. That information is just used to kind of help us on the back end understand the flow and the process of things. Um, for example, you're starting very early in the morning. We're expecting to see more of these sleeping results to come in the morning. And as people begin to wake up and be more responsive, then we'll see less of them. So record what you observe as best as you can. And if you're doing this observation, it will ask you about demographics. We're going to treat that like knowing that it's a guess and accommodate that in our final reporting. And there's no reason to give a thank you gift or any incentive for this type of report. It looks very similar in the app. You click on I'm observing a person. It will ask you about individual or household and ensure the correct location. So we're still dropping a pin where you're standing for this report. So it's going to be a much shorter list of questions that you're responding to, and you still have a notes. We do ask for age, but we're asking for age range, and that's just going to help us estimate sort of youth versus seniors or who we might be seeing in the field. All right, number 3. So the third type of tally is a vehicle or makeshift shelter tally. And if you're thinking about hitting the button saying, I'm observing a vehicle or structure, I want you to stop and confirm, is this really what I want to use? Because if I can see an occupant inside the vehicle or inside the tent, I don't want this. I want to see a person that we just went over, okay? So if I can get a head count, I'm using observation of a person. If I cannot get a head count, but I'm very suspicious, or maybe the neighbors have told me, hey, someone lives there, they're not home right now, then we use this vehicle shelter tally. So we're clicking, I'm observing a vehicle or structure. And again, it's going to ask you to justify why you think someone's living there actively versus maybe it's just abandoned or maybe it's parked but old. It's just going to ask you. In the app, you're clicking, I'm observing a structure, you're confirming the map location. It's going to ask you a brief amount of questions and then again, notes and hit submit. One question that it will ask if it's a car or an RV is license plate. And if you're unable to see the license plate, that's okay. Just put in 4 zeros. But if you can see the partial plate, we use that for deduplication to make sure we didn't get accidentally multiple cars being reported more than once. They're mobile, right? So this count is going to go on for a few hours. The car may go to another team's location. So that's the kind of thing we're trying to check for. All right, we're going to do a quick practice. So I want you to imagine in your mind, you've got 3 different people, 3 different scenarios. What kind of interview or observation or vehicle tally will you do with these 3 people? We've got a no thanks, I'm not interested. A yes, I want to answer the questions. And I'm asleep, they're not waking up. All right, I'm sorry I'm going a little fast, but I want you to have plenty of time for questions. So yes, I will answer the survey questions is our type 1. I am interviewing someone. But both the guy who's not interested and the person who's asleep, that is an observation. None of these are vehicle or shelter. So here's some vehicles and shelters. What's going on with 3 situations here? We have a car and we cannot see inside, but we think someone might be living in there. We have a tent, but everyone inside is asleep. And we have a car with people inside, and they're actually willing to talk to us. Okay? So if the people in the car are willing to talk to us, we do the I'm interviewing someone button. And we only do the I'm interviewing someone button. There's no need to also do a vehicle. Okay? The vehicle will be collected in the full survey. We'll know that that's their status, and we don't need the other report. All right, so then there's the tent. We see people sleeping in the tent. We can count the number of people in the tent and do an observation tally. Just because it's a tent, again, we don't need to do the tent button. It will be captured when you do your observation. And then finally, the vehicle with the blocked windows, we think someone's sleeping in there, but we can't see, we don't know how many it is. That is what the vehicle tally is for. Or structure or tent, right? Like whatever space they've constructed. Okay. So here's a quick summary of the things I really want you to remember. Great surveyors are going to choose the correct survey type, whether it's a full survey, an observation, or a structure vehicle. You're going to try to keep it to 10 minutes, friendly, but also avoiding long stories or promises of assistance. And it is okay to give the gift even if they don't want to hang around and answer every single question on the list. We're going to listen for understanding. We're going to be mindful of our impact, be respectful guests in the folks' space, and take breaks if we need to. Okay, some basic logistics and what you need to know for actually doing this. Um, on the count day, I think it's Thursday morning for you all. What you want to know before you go out is who's going to be your key contact person, where are you supposed to meet up with the team and join the people that you're assigned to work with, and where is that team assigned to actually go and canvas. A lot of this information will be going into the app over the next few days as your local leads are getting the teams created and assigned to areas. You can check in on how that is going by using the app and clicking on the My Count button, and you'll see some screens similar to what I've got in front of you that will have the latest information so far. But you want to recheck it on the day of the count just in case there were any last minute changes. As you're surveying, you may be asked to visit additional locations beyond what you see in the My Count. Kind of later in the day, there may be teams that encountered more people than expected and needed more support. We may be doing this in a couple rounds. We'll see how it works out on the day of. But you can keep track of where you've been assigned as your first assignment using the app. Please bring a charged phone, comfortable shoes, weather-appropriate clothing. Bring your vehicle if you are going to be assigned to do driving for your team. Make sure your clothing is good for the weather, that you're hands-free, you've got masks, gloves, long sleeves if it's going to be a chilly day, and you might be requested to bring additional supplies based on your specific team assignment. Please do not wear anything flashy, fancy jewelry, funny quotes and sayings. I know you all do this all the time, but it's what we say to all the volunteers. Again, so you might have a team that is assigned to do a walking area or a driving area. Assignments are going to be ready definitely by the day of the count. They may be sooner. You will be given a map, at least on your phone, but I believe we'll have some printouts for some cases of where your team has been assigned. And if you are assigned to driving, you are expected to still stop the car and get out and attempt to say hello and talk to whoever you encounter who appears to be unsheltered homeless. Um, Please continue to count until you have visually assessed and attempted to survey everyone in your whole survey area. Keep in touch with your lead who is managing your I believe it's districts that we're calling them. If your team finishes early, you might need to redeploy to another area to support a team. If you're running late, you want to check in with your lead to see, hey, should I keep going? I've already been out here for 12 hours, or it won't be that long. But you might want to check in and say, hey, we expected to finish by 10 a.m. We're not going to finish until noon. Should we stop? And they may say yes, they may say no. If you do end up stopping before you've covered an entire area, we're going to need to know exactly where you did not go so that we can send a follow-up team. So please keep track as you're going up and down the streets of exactly where you've been. And then, of course, never leave a team member alone. If you have 3 out of 4 people who need to leave early for some reason and the fourth person wants to stay, they need to regroup with a new team. So they should reconnect with the lead for a new assignment. I know we've got a little bit more safety conversations, but in general, announce yourself from a distance, friendly, reasonably loud, but you don't have to be yelling. We're not doing any banging on pots and pans. We're not trying to wake anybody, right? That's not a requirement. You don't have to shake them or anything. Like, please do not touch people in the field. Just remember that they may not be expecting you, and if you're trying to knock, that can be alarming. We recommend if you want to maybe knock gently on the front end of a car, please do not knock on the window. That's probably going to scare them. Unzipping tents or attempting to remove pieces of things in order to get into someone's space is absolutely unacceptable. And do not trespass on private property. So don't climb a fence if you see a tent on the other side. That is not necessary. You can wave and say hello, see if they'll come close to the fence. If that's not working, you can do an observation and say, yeah, I saw a tent, and that is fine. Again, be especially careful around highways or off ramps. Be aware of moving vehicles. You are not required to go anywhere dangerous. If you're in the field and you lose cell service or you don't have Wi-Fi, continue surveying. And instead of hitting submit, you will hit save draft. And all of the surveys will be saved on your phone temporarily. And then when you get back to an area with cell service, you can go into the drafts section and submit them after the fact. This should be rare, but I have heard that there are some areas maybe closer to the beach where we might have issues with cell service. And then at the end of the day, when you are done counting for the day, don't just leave. Please tell people that you're done so that they can check you off. Submit any drafts that you had to save on your phone temporarily. Return any unused gifts. So if they give you 100 and you give out 98, people will count and they will know and they will want to see the 2 back. And please tell us both if you found no one in your whole area. That's really important because otherwise we think it won't be covered. Like, hey, nobody went there. So we need like that confirmation of we covered that area and we found nothing. And then areas that you were not able to cover. So I went to half of my space. We want to know that uncovered space so that we can send a follow-up team. If you need help during the count, each small team should have a team lead. So you can ask that person, maybe they've done a few point-in-time counts before. If the team lead doesn't know, then you can go to your district lead. They may know, and then HSH, right? They're coordinating. and then they can contact SimTech if none of those folks on the chain have answers. Um, so again, please remember to download the app before the count and make sure that you are able to log in and create test records. Here are some helpful links for additional resources. SimTech has a lot of pre-recorded short videos about how to use the app and PDFs and walkthroughs if you like that kind of thing, um, as well as some additional content about cultural humility and compassionate listening and how to engage with people in a friendly way. So now we have time for questions. And thank you again so much for listening as I talk us through all of that content. Yeah, Marnie, please.
Sorry, I put this in the chat like 1,000 times, but there's a lot of chat. So who exactly is putting teams and routes together? Is that HSH is doing that? Are we doing
Yes,
that?
HSH is working on that right now.
So who are, when you refer to leads, who is that?
So my understanding is that you all have kind of like district groupings that they're working with to coordinate uh, groups of teams. And
So,
HSH,
so
would-
HSH is
yeah,
going to reach out to each organization and say, here are your leads, here are your teams, and here are your routes?
that's my understanding, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And some of you, a short number, but some have already been assigned to teams. Um,
So if we haven't gotten that information yet, it's forthcoming?
Can
yes,
I can
Okay.
yes.
jump in here.
Oh, thanks, Sarah.
Hi, Marty, and I know that we're also in coordination with you on taste-specific routes. Yes, we are working to take the first draft at assigning kind of teams and routes. We will be in contact with you around the TAPE protocol specifically, which is a little bit different. So I know that we will circle back with you more specifically because of the TAPE planning being slightly unique. But we will take the first stab at identifying the teams and the routes accordingly for most folks here. We've had some, fluctuations and just wrapping up sort of the full registration. So there's a lot of work just to organize that on the map, and then it should be identified there once we'll send out alerts once that is ready and identified. We do have, as folks know, I think in their volunteer registration, folks identified as being willing to be a team lead. And so there are comments that we have from folks around preferences for being placed in the same team with certain individuals. There's identification from folks about who is willing to be a team lead versus not. And so we will be first making those assignments according to those preferences that people put in place around location, willingness to be a team lead, and structuring sort of team size according to the full list of registrants that we now have pretty well identified. Does that help answer your question? But I know, Marnie, that we have very specific sort of designations of the TAY teams and routes and considerations around the locations of those. So we will be in touch with you and the group that we've been planning the TAY count with more specifically on that component.
Thank you.
Yeah, Hitesh?
Yeah, hi. So on the app, um, when I go to the app, I under the main menu where it says my count settings draft, I don't see the option for maps over there. I do see maps like once I say, okay, I'm gonna survey a person. So then it kind of like what you mentioned earlier, like wherever you are, it will drop the pin. But I don't see the option of the maps under the main menu.
Hmm. I don't know if Derek or Connor might better be able to answer that one. I'm not familiar with that.
And I wonder, Connor, it would be helpful if you can answer, but as I mentioned, we've just sort of wrapped up the full recruitment of volunteers. And so I think that folks have might be able to see in the app like their regional preference that they first did. But what we will be sending out a confirmation of is putting in the full route assignments in the app. So I'm assuming that it's not displaying right now because we haven't finalized the team assignments and the route assignments within the backend app as of today. So while the app I think is helpful to download if you can test, begin to troubleshoot, I think the actual route assignments are likely not populating in the app as of right now.
Got it. Thank you. I just had one other question, and I know it may not be as relevant, but I know like people are already on edge in terms of like ice activity everywhere. Any tips in terms of like, because I don't want to be mistaken, not that I'm going to be wearing an ice vest, but I don't know, like people are very much on edge, and how do we make sure, we can kind of like come off more receptive, I guess. Yeah.
Can start with that, and Kim and others, please add if you have more to add. This has definitely been flagged as a concern from early on, and so we certainly want to be clear, I think, with folks when we're meeting that the count is not affiliated at all with enforcement. No information's being disclosed in those ways, and we have in the more written tip sheets that we'll be releasing some more guidance around some of those talking points and engaging with folks. But something that we've also developed that's new this year is more proactive messaging of the count. And so we have developed some flyers that are translated in multiple languages that are available on our website that we've been distributing to our access points and shelters, and some printout of those that we're sending with outreach teams in the days leading up to the count. So we are trying to, the messaging on that is specifically around what the count is and its purpose, and that it's that information is kept private and not used for enforcement purposes. So that has been one strategy that we're trying this year to familiarize folks that the count is coming and to understand that it's not at all affiliated with any sort of enforcement activities.
Okay. Thank you.
Alex, you're next.
Excellent. Thank you. I had one question, and then the question is got me thinking about some other things. But let me start with the first one. There was some chatter in the chat around um, the question, would you like to be referred to shelter? And it sounds like maybe there's some plan to adjust that. I cannot imagine going up to somebody and saying, hey, do you need help? Okay, I'll make a note of that. And there's no offer to follow up on that. It doesn't feel fair to the surveyors or to the people that we're talking to. So I hope that there's a plan to adjust that, that if we're asking people about shelter, that we are able to follow up by offering some sort of referral. And if not, then I hope that that question can be removed because I don't see that. I think that could turn things pretty bad pretty fast and not be safe for anybody. Um,
Yeah,
so that's
I
that part.
appreciate. Yeah, thank you very much for that flag. We will be issuing more guidance on this question or rephrasing it. This is used for a very specific research purpose, but both for this question and the broader asks that we have just around the guidance for folks that in terms of what information to provide for resources. We will be clarifying that component because I think so I hear that need. We're going to follow up on that piece. And I appreciate that flag.
Thank you. And then the other piece around um, the issues with ICE, et cetera. When I worked with the Census Bureau on survey taking, some of the things that we did was to make sure that we were all really easily identifiable. I certainly plan to wear my ID badge on my chest where it's visible, so that when people see me, they can see that I have a recognizable city employee badge. Um, we also would send people out with the census with other paraphernalia that indicated that they were census workers, like the big bag. So I don't know if there's anything else like that that you can provide us, or whether the kits that we have will indicate the point in time count. Those types of things can help. But that also raises a question. I know that I can't share any information that I gathered with the Census Bureau for 79 years without facing $250,000 and up to 5 years in prison. Um, what kinds of confidentiality protections are in place if we are, say, collecting somebody's name and age and other identifying information and compiling that? How protected is that from the potential subpoena by federal agencies or other methods of getting that information?
I'll answer the first part of your question first, which is that we are printing stickers for everybody to wear this year. So we will have kind of a point in time count sticker that's available. And for your second part, I might have to follow up with our legal counsel specific to that, just to ensure that I have appropriate kind of guidance on that front.
That makes sense. Yeah, and it feels like we could probably conduct the survey pretty successfully, encouraging anybody who's uncomfortable to use
Yes.
their initials, so that they can protect their identity, as a way to get an account without having to gather personally identifiable information.
Absolutely true. I'll speak to intent first off, and we can follow up more specifically on the confidentiality elements that you mentioned, with any redisclosure there. But the intent is that the survey questions, like the observation, can be conducted as strictly visual, right? And so where we have guidance on collecting personal information, it does allow in the app, you'll see, for partial information, for initials. So there's a little bit of a cascading, and there's an opportunity there for fewer questions. I I understand it's sensitive, but to the extent that we can collect personal information, the helpfulness there is in deduplication, or with certain teams actually reducing the number of questions that need to be asked, because we might be able to do some back end pulling from the system. So certain outreach workers with a higher level of access may be able to actually look up clients and reduce the number of questions that are asked to fulfill reporting requirements. But most identifying information that we see here is for deduplication purposes, and won't be logged in any systems of record outside of this key effort to generate kind of the count figures. So it's really meant for deduplication purposes.
Understood. So will you folks be sharing legal and data protection information with us before we do go into the field?
Yeah, I'll need to follow up, but
Okay,
we'll see if we can get some language together on that piece.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll go next. I'm not exactly sure where I am in the queue. I can't really see. I'm Havari, and thank you all for this space, for this training. Just quickly, and Hitesh already spoke to it, and Alex has already spoke to it, and Sarah spoke to it as well. But my question was around uh, badges, or how do we actually identify ourselves, and how do we introduce ourselves? I mean, this would be my first time ever doing this, but I have lived experience. So I just know how I would respond if someone's coming up to me, and it might be from a government entity or even an unknown entity. So I'm just wondering, is there some type of elevator pitch or some type of script, maybe I missed it, how we should approach them? Yes, stand back. maybe like gently knock or say something, but I'm just wondering, what are we actually saying that's going to uh, compel someone to want to engage or even speak to us? Should we come up with our own way of interfacing with them, or is there some, again, some elevator pitch or some script that we should all be sticking to? I'm just wondering, maybe I missed that piece.
Some of your guidance and thoughts here, but certainly like in the application, there is a brief sort of script for the introduction that's when you first click in as you're starting the interview. So there is a sentence or two there as an introduction, and we'll also be including that as well as some of the sorts of tips that you mentioned around or around maintaining distance, announcing your presence that are in the sort of a field guide write-up document that we'll be sharing as a follow-up. So we will be providing those sample scripts there, and then I think our guidance has been too that because a lot of folks that will be working the count do have outreach roles, but this engagement won't be a traditional outreach engagement based on their day-to-day work. We are encouraging folks to sort of announce themselves as a point in time count volunteer and to point to the sticker and to and to play that role as it relates to the count itself, rather than announcing your organization, for example, or your role with a particular outreach team, since this won't actually be a regular outreach engagement. And the goal is to really ensure that we are counting full routes and completing surveys as best as possible, and then continuing to move forward so that we can ensure that we have full coverage.
Great, very helpful. Thank you so much, Sarah. Just really quickly, are we surveying the sheltered population or the unsheltered? I couldn't remember because the slide was kind of moved kind of quickly.
This is
Um,
specific to the unsheltered, I'm sorry, Kim, but very quickly, this is specific to the unsheltered population for this count, and there are kind of filtering questions in the beginning to confirm where someone slept the night before, because the goal here is to really be counting and surveying those that were unsheltered on the night of the 28th to the 29th. There will be numbers reported to HUD about who is in shelter, and that will come from our shelter data systems separately.
Got it. Thank you so much.
So we've got three more people with hands up, and I just want to double check with our HSH friends. Do we need to do a security safety presentation, or do you want to keep going with questions?
Sarah, what do you think? Mark Silva is here, and he does have some talking points prepared.
I think if we can have Mark, if you can do a brief presentation. I think Mark has some really helpful tips. Again, there will be follow-up on this, and then I hope we have time for both, but we can certainly follow up with the questions too, or take those in chat if you're able to put those in chat to be time efficient.
Yeah, I apologize for those we haven't gotten to yet. And if you've got extra time, I personally can stay on a little bit longer as well. Thank you.
All right. My name is Mark Silva with the San Francisco Homeless Outreach Team. So I'm just sharing some best practices. You don't have to use all of these. They're just kind of suggestions. First, clearly introduce yourself by stating your name and what your objective is. Do not use your title, such as outreach specialist or case manager or whatever that is, as you're not serving in that role, and that can lead to some confusion. Always stay with your partner. If your partner is surveying a person, actively assess safety so that the surveyor can give their full attention to those they survey. Establish a code word to signal threats for safety. Here we use the term blue pen. So if you say, hey, can you give me a blue pen? Or I lost my blue pen. Don't approach people who are clearly giving signs that they do not want to be approached. Do not interrupt the sale of drugs or sex or any other criminal activity. Never sneak up on someone or corner someone. Respect a person's three homes, whatever that looks like: personal space, physical space that they live in, the community in which they live. Do not touch a person's belongings unless you have permission. Give those you survey plenty of personal space while monitoring for threats of safety or any dangers like hands balled in a fist, visible or indications of concealed weapons. Be polite and friendly. Use person-centered language, respectful language, like how are you experiencing homelessness, rather than excuse me. Avoid using terms like homeless as a casual identifier, as it is an experience, not an identity. Terms like unhoused or street involved are euphemisms and should be avoided. Do not assume a person is experiencing homelessness. You can start by saying that you are surveying people experiencing homelessness in the area, followed by asking, are you or someone you know in the immediate area experiencing homelessness? This can help neutralize reactions to any assumptions while gaining valuable insights about those around. Whether you follow up on that is up to your discretion. People may want to help and point you in a helpful direction. Do not give the impression that you are there to provide services. Politely redirect to any nearby available resources or websites, flyers. Be transparent about your objective and answer any relatable or reasonable questions with a rational response. Avoid giving advice, making promises, offering prayer, making assumptions, silver lining a negative experience, and asking irrelevant personal questions. Be calm, move predictably, keep your hands visible. If safe to do so and appropriate, get down on the person's level and make eye contact. Do not wake people up, especially by physically touching the person, and keep your language short, simple, and clear. And I can share these out to HSH so that they can share these to you all too. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. It looks like we do have time for a couple more questions. I know we've got some going in the chat, but let's, Chauncey?
Hi. I'm having trouble signing in. It says enter the setup key provided by your regional account administrator.
Yeah, usually people getting that message need to go online and register on the website before they log in on the app. So try that, and if that doesn't work, we can troubleshoot.
Okay, thank you.
Leontine? Sorry, we can't hear you. You're on mute if you're trying to talk to us. I'm going to go forward to Margaret.
Hi, thanks for all you do. I'm wondering, do we carry around the incentive bags with us, like 100 of them or whatever each?
Yeah, we're looking into ways to make that more convenient for folks. They're not big bags, but if you got 100, it might be. So we are making some plans on how we might be able to. Sarah, I saw you come off
Yeah,
mute.
just a couple quick things on that too. I think hopefully it will not be 100 per person, just given that there's we do have a limited number of incentives that will be distributed sort of throughout teams that are throughout the city. And so we'll have to do our best guesswork to equip folks appropriately. Many teams will also all teams will have at least 3 people that we set up. And so there's some dividing of resources that way, and many teams will also likely have vehicles for transport. And so for those thank you to those who have identified that you have a vehicle available, and to the outreach teams that are supplying them. And so I think we would also encourage that for some teams, if you are on a route where you need to drive to get to the route from a deployment center, or will be driving on your route, then that can also be a way to not carry a full case of incentives for the duration of the count.
Hitesh and then Joshua.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that what I heard earlier is correct. So none of the data that we are collecting will be transmitted to HUD.
So what's going to happen is the data collected in the app goes
Uh-huh.
to SimTech, right? Like
Yes.
us, the third party data folks.
Mm-hmm.
It's going into our database and we'll do some analysis and magic to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, when it does finally go to HUD, it will be reformatted and none of the names and things will be in there. So
Okay.
it'll just be summary information. It won't be individual information, and it'll be a report for the entire continuum of care.
Got it. And I'm not an attorney or anything like that. I just want to keep it. I'm so sorry to be paranoid, but we live in a world where I absolutely have no trust in any of the federal agencies at this point. So I just want to make sure, do we have any legal mechanisms in place where they can't really make us provide the identifying information?
I think it helps that SimTech is a private company and not a government entity, and it's not going to HSH directly.
Got it.
Um, More than that, I'm not sure.
Okay.
So, like, we're not a FOIA. Nobody could do a FOIA to a private organization in that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, Joshua.
Just a quick question, since it was mentioned that we're gonna have limited gift. What if we have more people to do the survey and we don't have nothing to provide, no more gift to provide?
So you can communicate with your kind of district coordinator who's distributing the gifts. And sometimes there's the ability to say, hey, I have more than I need. And then they get redistributed to areas that did not have enough. Sometimes um, we're not going to be able to promise them later or pop up with more at a later date.
I was
I think
just wondering
that's
how can we handle that, especially, if they already saw that we're given and then would you like to do it and we don't have nothing to offer? I don't know if that's gonna cause any problems or
Or maybe
no.
more people will say no, and that's okay too. People are reasonable.
Just to jump in here, in past count years, the folks who distributed gifts often communicated with their lead when they were halfway done, 3/4 of the way done, distributing their incentives so that folks have some time to coordinate those redistributions.
Thanks, Megan. That's really helpful. Gabriella?
Quick question. Is this training good to use for other cities? Because I know my city that I live in is also having one.
Not necessarily. So if they have hired SimTech, then they're probably using the same system and a similar process. But SimTech's only doing 70. So
Okay.
there's a reasonable chance if it's in California, it might be SimTech, but
Okay. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. Chauncey, yeah.
I have another question. So we'll be late for work because usually most people start at 8 o'clock and it ends at 10. So how are those hours going to be accounted for? Like, are we losing pay? How is it working?
See, maybe I can directly message you. We've gotten a couple messages in the chat just with questions about this and for work timing. So HSH, I'm not sure. We have folks from a few different agencies and departments and organizations here. And so we do encourage you to consult with your organization's HR department because there might be some variance on that front. For city employees, we have been working with other departments to try to encourage flexibility for folks to participate in the count. But again, the guidance for specific employees might vary by classification and by organization. And I do want to clarify that the count hours are from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. And so I think I heard 8 to 10 a.m. and saw an 8 to 5 p.m. somewhere in the chat too, and just want to make sure that we're clear on the hours here.
No. Okay, thank you.
Real quick, how do I build my own team
So
or
you gotta,
volunteer as a lead in
or
case I want to?
no, HR, gotta call HR.
So I think that, you know, in the registration, Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think folks can go into the into editing your registration to update. And so we will be compiling the teams, and there's been notes that we've received around folks requesting to be with a friend or with colleagues on particular teams that we'll take into account. But you can certainly message us. And I think there were also route preferences that you're able to set, or regional preferences in the app during registration. But individual folks will not be designing their own routes. Like, we will be providing route assignments.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
For anyone who has to hop off, you're welcome to do so. We are a couple minutes over. And again, thank you for coming and being here to do this work. It's really important, and we're very grateful that you're going to be participating.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll stay on for a couple more minutes if anyone else has questions.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Can you hear me? This is Carrie. I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, forgive me. I came on late. I was with the client. Could you just tell me how do we know what district that was selected for us? I missed that if you talked about it.
If you've registered for the app on the website and then downloaded the app to your phone, when you log in, at the bottom there's a menu, and one of the options is a little settings button, and it says My Count. If you click on that, it will show what today's assignment looks like. But a lot of the assignments have not been made yet, and some of them may shift in the next few days as the team is getting the full coverage mapped out. So I would say check in the app today and then check again like Wednesday to make sure that nothing has shifted.
Okay, I see it. I see it. It says I'm assigned to Bayview, where I live. Okay. Visitation. Okay, but I'll check it in a couple of days to make sure it didn't shift.
Right.
Okay. And one more thing, how do we get the gifts to give to the clients? I didn't receive that information.
That'll be at the meetup location. There will be
Okay.
a distribution system for the day of.
And that will be at 5 o'clock, correct?
Yes. So it's from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Yes. Okay. Okay. That's all I had. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks.
I also have one question. I think I missed the password.
Yeah, so there should not be is it asking for a setup key?
I downloaded the app. It says enter your email address, says enter your password.
Okay. So if it's asking for a password, you can hit the forgot password button, and that'll set it for the first time.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Give that a try. Anyone else?
Hi, yeah, I kind of came on a little bit late too. So when we go to the Connectors app, known location survey, is that where I know where I would be at or no?
No. So that's a separate thing. It's not really needed right now,
Okay.
but it's for a different process. And the day of, you won't even see that button.
Okay, cool. So then, so where would I be like sent to? Do I know that yet? Or
If you click on the My Count at the bottom, that'll tell
Okay.
you if you have an assignment. And just like Carrie, check it today, check it a few days from now, and make sure that it hasn't shifted between now and Wednesday.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. And then let's say, because I'm part of Larkin Street Youth Service, they said to meet at Larkin at 5 in the morning. Is that true, or would you guys switch us?
It's unlikely that we're going to switch you, but there may be multiple locations that Larkin is covering, right?
Okay, all right.
So just
Thank
keep an eye
you.
out and talk to the folks, your supervisors and stuff.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day and good luck with everything you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hi, I was having problems getting in, so I got in like super late. I'm trying to get up to speed with everything. I did register already. I did not write down the password. So you're saying if I just download the County Nest that just say forgot password and then I can sign in?
That should work. Yes.
Okay, and how do I get confirmation that you received it? Because I'm not seeing anything in my emails or anything. Somebody said that they already assigned to the Bayview. I didn't.
Your assignments will be in the app. So once you're able to log in, you'll see it.
Oh, it's in the app. Okay, great. So no email. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the slides, are they going to be emailed to us?
The
Since
slides are going to be posted to the resources website, and also this meeting recording will be posted to the website.
what is website?
Yeah, let me grab that link for you. So I'm going to put it in the chat, but it's kind of long. pointintime.info/surveyor/San Francisco point in time/San Francisco Surveyor.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you have questions, just reach out to the folks at your organization. I mean, a lot of people are doing this. They can also point you to the right direction.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Final thoughts? Any last questions?
We got this, that's all.
Thank you, Claudia. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. So thanks everyone for joining. And again, good luck next week. Before you arrive at your meetup center, make sure that you have the app and are able to log in, and we'll do our best to support you. But thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thanks, Lorraine.